when you look at people that are depressed, or even people just not where they want to be, they have no compelling future.
Yes,
anyone can deal with a difficult today if they have a compelling tomorrow.
Yes.
And so when people think about our country has just gone through a period, regardless, I'm an independent, I voted on both sides of the aisle, so this is not a political statement. But if I asked you, what has been the vision for this country in the last 4 years, last 8 years even, to somehow pay off our debt, to make it through these times, no one has got a clear vision. It's opposed to, look at a Democrat and a Republican. Kennedy got up and talked about, in this decade, we're going to put a man on the earth and return him safely. The city on the hill with Reagan, you could pick, it doesn't matter which person, but they both had a vision that unified America for a period of time, created an optimism. Now you're starting to feel, not everybody obviously, because there's left and right, but a lot of people are now, I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, give me somebody competent, give me somebody to get results. And there's an excitement about change because things have not happened. It seems to be more of a compelling future, especially in the health area you and I are both passionate about, right? With Bobby Kennedy and the army of people that, were attacked during COVID who were telling the truth, and now they're going to be in charge. So the world is shifting. But I really think it's important for your listeners or viewers to understand, because I think you and I couldn't be more aligned. A compelling future is everything. Because without that, you can have an aim, by the way, but if it's not compelling, it's not going to do much.
Well, and you demonstrate in the physiology of your lectures the fact that compelling aspect is possible and real. Right.
But I also get them to experience it once again. If they just watch me, I'm not here to be their role model examples. I'm not here to be your guru. I'm here to be your friend. I have some insights. You have insights. We can learn from each other, right? But the idea of getting in a state of mind where you're in a heightened state of consciousness because your energy increases. Think about it. When your energy drops, usually negative thoughts grow with that pretty massively, right? Self-negative thoughts about society. As you raise the energy level, it's like plugging into a computer. You have the greatest computer, but not enough electricity. But if there's full electricity, there's power there. And most of us have gotten adjusted to a level of energy, especially post-COVID, that we don't even realize because we're like fish in water. It has dropped massively. When I walk around into companies, that's why engagement became so important to me. There's just not the same level of engagement. And no one's trying to deliberately do it. They were conditioned for 4 years to sit still in front of a computer and do anything. And many people before that weren't doing anything. It just magnified it. But when the energy increases, that's my first job, your consciousness increases with that frequency of intensity.
When you said memory, okay, well, there's a physiological explanation for that. Okay, so dopamine does two things. It produces that feeling of enthusiasm. That's why people take cocaine, for example, or most of the drugs of abuse that are stimulants.
Right.
Okay, so it produces that feeling of reward, but that's not all it does. So imagine that there's a positive outcome and that produces some enthusiasm. Okay, now imagine that there's a chain of neurological events that led up to that positive outcome. Okay, what dopamine does is encourage the neural systems that were active just before that positive event occurred to grow. So now that means
you're creating more wiring,
and you're strengthening whatever connections were used. So
you're going from dial-up to a higher level. If you're increasing the energy, and you're simultaneously getting people to configure their goals, and those two things are happening at the same time, that should increase the probability that the goals that they adopt will be instantiated permanently into memory. And then it's also not exactly the kind of memory that you would call to mind to talk about. It's the kind of memory that you see the world through. So that's that's procedural memory. It's a completely different kind of memory. I get it.
It's the kind of memory that, so let's say you practice applying a certain framework of interpretation to your circumstances. Okay, that practice reconfigures procedural memory, and that's literally that's the rewiring of the system through which you view the world.
That's correct.
Right.
And when you have a new view of the world, you come up with new meanings. And meanings, as you know, we both know, your maps of meaning. My entire life has been, I remember reading Man's Search for Meaning. I'm actually making the film. And it was one of the books that influenced me the most, because the ability to find meaning, even in the most difficult time. And Viktor Frankl, to me, is just a godsend to this planet.
It's a great book.
It's crazy.
It's great.
If you haven't read it, please, whoever you're listening, read it. Or anybody's
That's
ever
Man's Search for Meaning. Yes, read that book.
It's incredible. But the point of your meanings change, your focus and your meanings change when your energy shifts. And so it's so fundamental to bring that energy up. And most people have no reference for it in their body. You know, if you go to a concert, I remember Pat Riley came to one of our, who, you know, owns a piece of the Miami Heat. He was an amazing coach. If you're not familiar with the NBA basketball, one of the winningest coach in history. Good friend of mine, known him for 30 years. And he came to one of our programs and he said, Tony, this is like the 7th game of the NBA championship, but it goes on for 4 days and it's 13 hours a day.
Right.
So that vibrancy, and most people at the game are cheering at times and not. This is an experience in your body. That's why I do the number of hours. That's why it's immersion. That's why it's multiple days, 4 days or 6 days. And that's why it has the lasting impact. But you're right. The dopamine circuits are actually creating, what's the white matter in your brain? The myelin, right? Creating the myelin.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So if
They
you
thicken the
like
myelin
you look at a
sheath.
great athlete, you know, people look at somebody like, you know, I'm fortunate enough to own a piece of several sporting teams, and one of them is the Golden State Warriors. And you look at Steph Curry, the greatest 33-point shooter in the world, and people look at him and he goes and he shoots the ball from like almost half court, and he's chomping on the side of his mouthpiece, and he doesn't even wait to go. He turns and smiles, and he knows. And then all of a sudden the crowd goes wild and it goes through. It's like, it looks like impossible. But where did that impossible come from? He built the myelin over and over and over again, so it's hardwired.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows exactly what did. Now, how did he do that? This is the part that we all forget. I always tell people, when you see people who are amazing in public, they're being rewarded in public for what they've practiced massively in private.
Yes.
So here's his plan. Just take 15 years in the NBA. That's all he's been there. Greatest 3-point shooter in history. Nobody even close if you're not familiar with the NBA. He practices 500 shots a day, every day, 7 days a week, bar none. That's 3,500 shots a week. It's 168,000 shots a month.
Right.
2.52 million shots, not forget his college career, just in his professional career, so that he can make 3,300 3-point shots and be the greatest in history. That's less than 1/10 of 1% of the time was it compared to his practice.